Hello, everybody. James Benge and Michael Lahoud with me, Jonathan Johnston from House of Champions. We're breaking down the best of Tuesday's Champions League quarterfinal action. We've got Manchester City against Bayern Munich and Benfica against Inter Milan to look forward to. Benge, I'm coming to you first. Manchester City up against Bayern Munich. What's not to like about this game? Pep Guardiola and Thomas Tuchel renewing their acquaintances. It promises to be a fantastic opening leg, doesn't it?
Yeah, and Pep Guardiola facing off against his former club, whilst, in the red half, in the red side, we have João Cancelo and Leroy Sané facing off against theirs. It's rich with storylines, also dating back to Thomas Tuchel stealing what seemed to be Pep Guardiola's first Champions League with Man City, back with his Chelsea team. It's really hard, though, to see a world in which Tuchel can repeat those heroics over 180 minutes for a Bayern Munich team that are really plagued with indiscipline, careless mistakes, conceding loads of penalties, giving up shots they don't need to. This is why Julian Nagelsmann lost the job and Thomas Tuchel took it. Tuchel hasn't been able to fix it yet. And for that reason, you just can't make those mistakes with Erling Haaland around. And that's why you've got to make City strong favourites.
This is a Bayern side that after they beat Borussia Dortmund, everyone was thinking, watch out Pep, watch out City, even when the draw was put out because of how good they've been in the Champions League. But the inconsistencies in league form have a big question mark for me over which Bayern team will show up. I agree with you, James, about their defensive frailties, whether it's De Ligt, who in that last tie against PSG had the game and tie of his life, or Upamecano, Pavard as well. That is the player, his matchup with he and Jack Grealish. That is the matchup I'm looking at because Grealish has been in fuego for City. But it all is going to come down with how Bayern Munich deal with the one and only Erling Haaland. This guy is a goal-scoring machine, scored 2 at the weekend, and what a kung fu kick he had to score against Southampton. If he puts another kung fu kick goal, it's all over. Call it off.
Oh, you know what? I'm glad that you guys have touched upon Upamecano and Haaland because that is the sort of individual battle that I'm looking forward to the most. I think, Upamecano has really established himself as one of the informed defenders against Erling Haaland. You can't get, a meaner goal-scoring machine than him. However, when you look into the numbers, I'm still quite confident in Thomas Tuchel's ability, especially when you consider that he's kind of hamstrung in the attacking options that he can go with because there's going to be no Eric Maxim Choupo-Moting in Manchester for Bayern. I still think that the draw represents decent value at plus 285. I wouldn't go as far as saying that I'd be willing to bet my house on Bayern Munich to win at plus 340, but for me, I still feel like this is one that's definitely going to need both legs to be decided, and I think that Bayern can keep it respectable in Manchester, despite the fact that it is a tall order over the 2 legs. So we'll move it on now from Manchester City against Bayern Munich to a Benfica against Inter Milan. Obviously doesn't have quite the same glitz and glamour that City against Bayern has, but still it's a clash that's going to be full of quality. What are you keeping your eye on here, Mike Lahoud?
I'm keeping an eye on how this Inter Milan team shows up in both boxes. Offensively, it's been much to do about nothing except Romelu Lukaku. Defensively, Onana, he had a bit of a blip at the weekend, which had them get the shock draw against Salernitana. If both of those players show up, then that gives this Inter side a chance. But I'm very high on this Benfica team. They lost a surprise loss to FC Porto, rivals in the Portuguese league, but I think they show up. I think that they will eke out a result against Inter Milan.
We've got 2 of the more underrated goalkeepers in this competition as well. Andre Onana at Inter Milan, but also Odysseas Vlachodimos, a player that no one talks about as often as they should in the Benfica goal. I think these are teams that can keep clean sheets, and maybe the attacks, especially Inter's, aren't really going to test them. I'm looking at that under 2.5 goals at minus 155. That's quite interesting to me. I don't think this is going to be an absolute thriller, a goal fest. Equally, if I'm putting on a game for tension, the second leg of this one's going to be quite something to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that for me, Benfica, when you really get into the numbers, you could be quite tempted to think that they're going to blow teams away, given that they had that massive goal swing at the end of the group stage, which saw them come out on top of their group ahead of PSG. But I don't think that they're quite as prolific as that. So for me, I can certainly see them advancing, but I could see it being a lot tighter than many people expect. So I wouldn't necessarily rule out the draw as well at plus 220. But I also do think that Benfica to win over 90 minutes in this at plus 112, for me, I'd be going on that because I'm still still confident that Bayern will come out on top. So that was me, Jonathan Johnston, with Michael Lahoud and James Benge, breaking down the best of Tuesday's action. And we will be back soon with more goodness.